Welcome back to another episode of the Scran Line. Today I'm going to show you guys how to make a trendy pumpkin cake. So this is perfect for Halloween, but you can also use it for Thanksgiving or pretty much any time of the year. But this makes an awesome kind of like Halloween or Thanksgiving party centerpiece on your table. You can actually adjust the colors so that all the decorations and patterns to your taste so that it matches the theme of your party. Before we get stuck into today's recipe, I want to quickly remind you guys to hit the subscribe button. We have gained over 9,000 followers on this channel in the last 2 weeks, which is amazing, by the way. Thank you to everyone who's subscribed. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button so we can keep that community growth up, because I love seeing this community grow. And make sure you hit the little bell icon as well so that you're notified each time there's a new video on this channel so you don't miss out. Now, I want to quickly warn you guys, I've got some funny names for the ingredients in this recipe video. So you're going to see those pop up on screen as I'm going through it. The full list of ingredients of the actual recipe are on my website, which is where all my recipes live. So if you want to grab that, I've left a link in the box below for you guys. Let's begin with the cake. So we're making a vanilla cake today, and we're going to begin by adding our flour, sugar, baking powder and salt into a large mixing bowl, and we're going to mix this until it's well combined. Now guys, a quick reminder, we're going to be making one portion of this cake on screen, but you're going to need to double the recipe to actually make the full cake we're making today. So I've left the instructions on how to do that in the written recipe as well. The next thing you want to do is add your softened butter and mix that until you reach a crumbly sand-like texture. Next, we're going to add our eggs, milk, oil, vanilla extract, some Greek yogurt, and we're going to mix that until it's well combined. Then we're going to add some green and blue food gel there, and we're going to mix that until it's evenly coloured. Now today I'm using 2 8-inch sphere mold tins. So you can grab these at your local cake supply store, or you can grab them online. So we're going to be baking our cakes in these, and to help them stand up, we're going to pop them in a little cake tin so they don't flop around in the oven and your cake actually bakes evenly. You want to spray both of those with some oil, and you're going to line it with some baking paper. If you guys want to see me make a video on how to line your baking tins with baking paper and prepare them for baking cakes, let me know in the comments down below and I'll make a quick short video for you guys. Our cakes baked beautifully. We are going to trim the top off using a large serrated knife. Then I'm going to use a cake leveler to trim this cake in half, and then I'm going to trim a little bit of the top off the cake as well, just so that when we turn it upside down and it forms the bottom of our cake, it's got a flat surface to sit on and it doesn't wobble around. You want to do that to both of the cakes because you want the top of our cake to also have a slight flat top. We're going to be filling and crumb coating this cake with some black buttercream frosting. Now we're going to be colouring this black. So to begin with, we want to make it a chocolate buttercream frosting, and I'm going to be adding some cocoa powder into my vanilla buttercream, mixing that in, and then adding some black food gel as well. You don't want to add too much black food gel because after a couple hours of colouring this buttercream, it actually darkens. So be careful with how much you add because you don't want your guests having black teeth after they've eaten your cake. Once you have your black frosting prepared, you're going to add it to a piping bag, and we're going to add a blob of frosting on top of an 8-inch cake board. We're going to add the bottom of our first half sphere cake on top of that, and we're going to pipe some frosting around the sides, and then we're going to fill it with some more buttercream. You want to use a small offset spatula to smoothen that out before you add the other half of your cake. You want to add some more frosting on top of that. Now, to help this cake stand up and not collapse in on itself, because it is quite a heavy cake, you want to add a support structure in the first half of the cake. So to do that, we're going to be using some bubble straws. You want to insert 3 or 4 bubble straws into your cake. Then you want to take them out slightly and trim them off with some scissors, and then put them back into the cake so they're level with the top of your cake. You don't want them sticking out of the cake. Then you're going to add some buttercream frosting on top of that and level it off with a spatula before we add a 6-inch cake board on top of that and add more frosting on top of that. Now, when you're cutting and serving your cake, obviously there's going to be 2 halves to your cake now because we've got another cake board in the middle. You just want to let anyone who's cutting the cake know that that it's structured that way, so they're not cutting into it and thinking, oh my god, what is going on? We're going to add the other half of our cake on top, repeating the same process as the bottom, and then we're going to pipe some frosting around the sides and smoothen that out with a offset spatula. Now guys, the outside frosting is just a crumb coat. It's designed to trap the crumbs in the first layer of frosting so they don't show on the final layer of frosting. Once you have everything looking nice and smooth, you're going to pop this in the fridge for about 2 or 3 hours just so that everything chills really, really well. And then we're going to move on to decorating and finishing our cake. Now the outside of this cake is going to be pink, so we want to colour some buttercream frosting with some pink food gel and mix it until it's evenly coloured. We're going to add that buttercream to a large piping bag and we're going to pipe it around the cake, and then we're going to use a small offset spatula to go from the bottom of the cake all the way up to the top. So you want to repeat that until you've gone all the way around the cake. Now, it took me a while to figure out how to make this look like a pumpkin, and in the end I decided I was going to do some buttercream carving. And the beauty about this is, guys, I've never done this before. I did this cake, and most of you will probably never have done this either. So it doesn't have to look perfect because it can look a little bit rustic and it still looks okay. So I'm using a small fondant tool which has a ball on the end of it to kind of give me a guide of where the bumps in the pumpkin are going to be. So I'm starting at the bottom of the cake, going all the way up the top, and then I'm kind of doing a half circle at the top and going back down. So you want to repeat that pattern all around the cake. Now I'm using a tool that I don't think I've used on this channel before. It's a really fancy spatula. It's called a small pointed end offset spatula. So that's going to help us get the finer details in this cake and make sure that everything is as smooth as we can get it. Now, rather than use fondant on this cake for the stalk, I decided to build that out of buttercream as well, just to keep this whole thing buttercream centered. So we're going to be piping some black buttercream frosting on top of a piece of baking paper, and we're going to be piping swirls of that as tall as you can get it. And then we're going to be using that fancy pointed end small offset spatula to kind of repeat what we did with the pumpkin cake and go from the bottom to the top until we've gone all around it. We're going to pop that in the fridge and let it set for about an hour so that it really hardens and stiffens. And we're going to move on to decorating this cake, guys. So I've just prepped some different colored buttercream. Again, you can use any colors you like. And I'm going to be piping some little decorations on this cake. So I wanted to make this a little bit Halloween scented, even though this is coming out after Halloween. And I wanted to put some little black ghosts on there and some little green bats and some just little like shapes and decorations around the cake. But again, you can use any kind of patterns or shapes that you like. To finish this off, we're going to be adding a little bit of buttercream frosting on top of our pumpkin, and we're going to be adding that stalk on top, and you just want to trim it off just so it's got a flat top. And guys, that is pretty much it. This cake looks so cool, and I love how there's a contrast between the inside of this cake and the outside with the green inside and pink outside. I just think it adds to the trendiness of this cake, and I love those colors. Now, if you want to grab the recipe, again, it's going to be on my website, which is where all my recipes live. So make sure you grab the link down below to go to the recipe if you want to make this cake. If you guys make this cake, please take photos and tag me on Instagram because I love seeing your creations. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you all on the next episode of the Scran Line.